you want to open? No, I don't mean the bottles. I mean, do you want to open the show? Do you want to open the... Welcome to the Bourbon Doctors. I'm Howard. This is Derek, and today we're talking Four Roses. Derek, again, this is the Derek run. We're just doing a whole run of episodes, all based on this man and his ridiculous bourbon collection. But today we're talking Four Roses. Tell me what we're talking about today.
So Four Roses is something I love, and I would argue that there should be a Four Roses for everybody. So what do I mean by that? We have a varied selection of Four Roses up here. Now I will say these are maybe the higher end Four Roses.
Fair.
People would
Fair.
have.
And say the yellow label. I know it's not called yellow label anymore, but...
Yeah, but if you look into what Four Roses is, how they craft their bourbons, there should be a Four Roses for everybody. So what do we mean by that? They have a couple mash bills.
Mm-hmm.
They have an E mash bill, they have a B mash bill, and the difference between that is the amount of rye content.
Mm-hmm.
They have 5 different yeast strains, and each yeast...
5 times 2, that's 10 different combinations, right? If my math is correct.
And then they blend them in their small batch products. In their, I think the yellow label is all 10.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to eventually find that there's probably a Four Roses product that agrees with your palate that you would find enjoyable. And certainly there's, I love them all. I keep saying this. I'm talking about Jim Beam. I really like Jim Beam. I like, I like Four Roses. I like Wild Turkey. I don't think there's. Maybe I just like all.
I refer to Chad and I as proof whores all the time because we, if it's proofy, we'll drink it.
Sure.
You just might be a bourbon whore. I mean, that might be
fair enough.
But I will say I'm not a Four Roses fanboy per se. I did cut my teeth early on the Four Roses yellow label. Yep, that's what I started drinking for bourbon. I will also say you have turned me on to some of the single barrel products. The OESO recipe is delicious, right? There is a Four Roses for everyone. The single barrel or the small batch select, I'm less a fan of. I have never had one of the special releases. I forget what they're called, the special small batch, which you have in front of us today. I think the plan is we're going to sample some Four Roses. I already know there's a bottle of Four Roses for me.
Sure.
Maybe there's more than one.
Could be.
There's clearly more than one for you.
Yes, and excited to open the limited edition with you because it's standout.
I'm really excited about this. We'll get to it. I will say, in full transparency, right? Four Roses is one of the distillers that is super transparent about their process, about their bottling, about what's available. You can go on the fourroses.com, whatever it is, their website. You can grab your bottle and be like, this one is OBSF. You can go look up exactly what that means and start tailoring your purchases to what your tastes are. And I think that's really important. There's not a lot of other distillers out there that really give you that control to say, this is really what I like. How do I go and find it?
Yeah. And there's distilleries that may do low rye versus high rye. There's distilleries that just one recipe across the board, but they'll vary the age statement. But Four Roses really is upfront about this is the age, this is the recipe, this is the yeast strain, and this is what you should get out of it. And it creates a consistent product. And for, maybe the more picky bourbon consumer, I think this makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. I mean, we talk about single barrels, right? Like single barrels are well known in the bourbon community as being like a one-off, right? You might get one that is fantastic. You might get one that's kind of a miss, right? I mean, Four Roses, especially with these store picks, I will say a couple of these are private select store picks. But again, they give you the recipe, so you know exactly what you're getting out of this single barrel, and it should be fairly consistent based on the recipe. This is aged 10 years, it says right on it. It says 35% rye mash bill. It gives you the recipe. It gives you the proof point. There's no other distiller that I'm aware of that gives you that much information with that much ability to really choose, fine tune your mash bill, your yeast, all of it.
And if we're thinking from a base product, again, we keep talking about yellow label, up to their single barrel. So this is their Four Roses single barrel. That is a 100 proof product that is put out fairly consistently. They have a small batch and then a small batch select.
Yep.
So we're talking about single barrels, we're talking about blended, we're talking about various proof points. Somewhere in there is, what you would prefer as a bourbon drinker.
Yep.
And so hopefully we can help everybody explore what is maybe their Four Roses. We can give them some ideas of the products we like. Yeah.
I think we should be reaching out to Four Roses because they should be paying us for this content. We're helping them out. I mean, we're helping you, the viewer, out, but man, this is a Four Roses advert right here, let me tell you. Not a sponsor yet.
Not a sponsor.
Let's pour some Four Roses and see if we can find more than one bottle for me.
There we go.
All right. So, what are we starting with?
So this is the single barrel.
The straight single barrel.
Straight single
not
barrel.
a store pick, not a private select. This is you go to your liquor store and this is sitting on the shelf.
Yeah. This is what you
This
get.
is what you get with a single barrel.
100 proof. They do vary in, I think, the recipe that they use in these.
So this is
single
the
barrels.
one this is the one thing where you can't find the recipe for this, right?
I don't think so. If I look at the front of this, it says it's warehouse PN, it's barrel 86, 4P. So it's a tier 4, and then watered down to 100 proof. But I don't see a recipe on it. Now, what might be kind of fun and interesting is, could we guess the recipe?
Well, that would mean that we'd have to get all 10 recipes, which is a whole nother video, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go higher rye. So
I was thinking that same thing.
35%. So I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be B.
It's see, and this is what I said. I know I have one Four Roses that is for me, and this is not it.
That's okay.
It's not a bad bourbon. Not bad at all. It's really floral. It is pleasant. But I'm just missing something from this.
That's fair. And it's a 100 proof, so it's a little bit on the lower side probably of what we prefer to drink.
Yeah.
So that's one knock against it.
Yeah. It is not as robust in terms of its palate, in terms of what I would prefer.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit of a last, but not a ton.
$44, would you?
44, but I think for $44, there's lots worse out there for $40. God, $40 now has become such a.
I know.
You can't get anything for $40 anymore.
You know, if we think back to what you could get at $40 in the past, I mean, you used to be able to get at let's say 100 proof, other bottle and bond type of on that realm.
Yeah.
There used to be a lot of bourbons that you would be able to get from that $30 to $40 range, and this is mostly readily available. I don't know.
This is really like you can go to any liquor store. If they've got Four Roses products, they probably have this on the shelf.
It's just, is this something you're going to gravitate to versus maybe some of the other bourbons that are available? Me personally, probably not.
Yeah, I'm with you. But I really, this has been multiple episodes of the show. I've said my nose is not great. I really enjoy this on the nose. I actually enjoy it on the nose more so than the palate.
Interesting.
On the palate, it's just a little one note, and that note is almost a little acidic. It's almost. It's not. Yeah, there's not the honey and vanilla and caramel that that's more my wheelhouse.
I think most bourbon drinkers would probably say the same thing, right? I mean, you're gonna go to a bourbon because you maybe want a little bit something that's sweeter. It's gonna be divided from like a Scotch or a,
Yep. Yeah.
you know, your even your single malts, your Japanese whiskeys.
Yep.
You're looking for that sweet, and I don't know if this has it. I think
No.
this is a little bit, like I said, higher rye. You a little bit more of your baking spice.
Yeah, but it's all. But I don't know. Like to me, even a good high rye bourbon hits all the notes.
Yeah.
Right? Like you get some of that baking spice with a little caramel, and you just get that journey, that roller coaster ride of like all these different flavors. This is just a little one note to me.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, here's some baking spice. See you later.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. So, I think we're going to be able to compare this now to a couple other things, and that's a luxury we have. As a standalone bourbon, though, I would say this is good.
Oh, it's good. Yes, this is not bad bourbon by any stretch of the imagination, and yes, y'all, there is bad bourbon out there. It's not bad, but in the you've got that Weller CYVP, right? Choose your. This is not
bourbon.
this is not my crafting my perfect Four Roses.
Yes, you're a Weller apologist, though. I mean, right?
I like me some Weller products as much as I am, and this is well documented on this channel. I'm not in the Buffalo Trace like fanboy club. I think most of their products are overpriced, like over allocated, over sought after.
Sure.
But boy, I do like me some Weller.
Yeah.
It just is.
And this one I think would be on the opposite side of the spectrum, right? So we're imagining this is 35% rye, which, you know, is gonna definitely be a little bit more crunchy, and it's gonna be a little bit, sometimes have that minty aspect
Yep.
to it. It's gonna have those baking spice notes.
Yep.
And so, yeah, this is probably not your,
This is not
Four
my
Roses.
Four Roses. I would agree with you.
Yeah.
So let's move along.
let's do it.
Here we go. We've got a new product. We've got the Small Batch Select, 104 proof, readily available in most stores. I remember like there was a time where the Small Batch Select was a harder to find thing. Now it's just at the store.
I think it's everywhere. And you know, 6 to 7 year, you integrate 6 of the recipes. Right off the top of my head, I can't tell you what 6 those are, but if
That's
you want to
okay.
look it up, there you
Look
go.
it up, y'all. It's
Give Four Roses.
if you're that much of a bourbon nerd, if you're bourbon nerds like we're bourbon nerds, you can look it up yourself.
Yeah. But got a good age statement, got a good proof point.
Yep.
Blended.
And again, this is another one. Oh boy, that is. Man. So this is what time does to you. So I was just talking to Derek before we started this episode that I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I bought one bottle of Small Batch Select. I was unimpressed. I drank some of it. I threw it off to the side. And you know, my bourbon collection is adequate. I've never had to go back to it. It was actually pretty good.
Yes.
This is actually better than I remember. A lot of that rye characteristic comes through with this, though. I mean, this is.
Yep.
This is you could almost tell me this is just a straight rye, and I wouldn't bat an eye at that.
If there's any big Willet fans, I wouldn't say that I'm a massive Willet fan, but there is a distinct quality of most Willet products that you get, which is like the cinnamon red hots.
Yeah.
And this has got a little bit of cinnamon red hot to it. You match that with a little bit of that vanilla, and I'm gonna go real nerdy here. I'm gonna say there's some stone fruit, there's some peach and apricot. And this is nuanced. You can say that those flavors don't maybe go together. I don't know if you've ever had a peach pie that's got a bunch of cinnamon red hots in it.
Ooh, that doesn't sound good at all.
It doesn't sound great.
No.
But I appreciate that this nose, palate to finish takes you on a little bit of a journey.
Yeah. So, and I, you know, when I think peach pie with cinnamon red hots, I think about all those flavors at once. And really, this is I think more of a roller coaster, right? Where like you get a peak, you get a valley, you get another valley, you get a peak, you know, and it's this trip.
Now, $55. So we're talking about $10 increments.
$10. Wow. So $10 more, a little bit more proof, but boy, the flavor profile on this is 100% different. And this is where you go back to. There's a Four Roses for you. Man, to me, I think, man, if you're a rye drinker, right? I've got a friend who's like, she is, don't give me bourbon, give me rye, 100% every day. But this is a bourbon that I'd go, yeah, rye drinker, you would like this because it is heavy on the rye flavor profile.
Notes, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
the notes really come through.
So, would this be a Four Roses for you?
I think this would be a Four Roses for me, but not the Four Roses for me.
That's fair.
Right? I still, my palate still tends more towards those candy notes, those vanillas, those creme brulee, caramel, and this is more floral to me. This is more, it is rye heavy. I think if I'm feeling rye, this is the bourbon for me.
There you go.
Right?
So if our viewers were, say, wanting to find their entry Four Roses, because the single barrel selects and the small batch selects, those aren't going to be readily available at your liquor store.
Yeah, for sure.
These two products are.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, these two products are. So the small batch select may be a nice entry point into the Four Roses line
Absolutely.
at a reasonable price point.
Reasonable, for $50 nowadays, $50 is,
Yeah, unfortunately, how the bourbon world has skewed its prices a little bit higher.
yeah.
This is going to be, I think, approachable.
Very approachable price. I think, again, really rye forward in terms of its flavor profile, but not in a, there's some ryes that I drink that I'm just like, bah. This is not bad. This is a good flavor profile. To me, it's just not, again, if I'm going to pick my craft your own bourbon, it needs a little bit more of that caramel sweetness. But this is a good bottle. I would put this on my shelf again, and perhaps I will now when I go back home. Okay, so here we are. We've got two different private selects.
Yep.
This is Did you remember which one you poured in which glass?
I did. So this is an OBSF.
This is OBSF.
Yep. On our left.
On our left. And then this is OESO.
OESO.
Which, this is the Four Roses for me. But we'll see. Maybe both are for me.
And for me as well, right?
Yeah,
So,
well, like that small batch select is, you put a hurting on that too.
I did. This is a OESO that is, I would say it's probably their most coveted recipe. Yep. So out of the 10, this is probably what people seek out. It's supposed to be more fruity. It's supposed to be. I always get a lot of strawberry red fruit from this. Mm-hmm. And this just happened to show up in a grocery store.
Yep.
And they were like, "Hey, we're opening this grocery liquor store, and we just happened to get this barrel pick." And I remember talking to the manager at the time about it. And I was just like, "Do you guys know that you're gonna have people descend upon this place?" Stopped in there, picked up a couple bottles.
I got one of those bottles.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm still happy to have it.
Double backed a couple days later.
All gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
Just disappeared, evaporated. And small town Minnesota. So it wasn't as if this was like metropolitan area. This was not in the Twin Cities.
With social media anymore, it doesn't matter, right?
Exactly.
It gets out once it gets out.
So a lot of people love OESO. This is a highly coveted. And then we're yeast strain, O yeast strain, but E for the rye content. So this is a 20% rye versus we have an OBS,
which is a 35.
Yeah,
right. So this is going to be more medicinal is the way I think of it.
Yeah.
But sometimes not. So starting, yeah. The higher rye content comes through on the nose right away. Now the proof point, a little bit higher, right? We're now at barrel strength. But that is, maybe I only like the private selects. This is delicious.
No, this is wonderful.
This is really nice.
So 10-year, 35% rye, and this is I believe a tier 4.
Yeah.
So the different tiers equate to different proof points, different locations in the rick house. So I don't know.
So this is 120.8 proof, but drinks super easy.
very much so.
And not really like a very different taste profile from the small batch select.
Definitely.
I got like this one, the small batch select was very heavy rye for me.
Yep.
This one less so. It's a little bit more of a, even though it's not a blend, it's just a softer rye, even though you do get that on the nose.
Yeah. And I mean, something that people will notice is they got these beautiful leather bands. They got this nice little insert right here. And if we go ahead and read what the OBSF is supposed to be, it is a minty, fruity, spicy, full-bodied bourbon.
But isn't that the OESO?
And this is the OESO. They have the same ones. Look at this right here. They have the 10 recipes on the back.
Oh, all 10 recipes are out. Look at that. Yeah.
So it's supposed to be fruity, but it's also supposed to be spicy. So maybe this is OBSF is the good balance between the fruit and the spice.
Well, I was just gonna say that, like, right, for me, the small batch select was a little bit too much like the mintiness of the rye heavy recipe, and I missed some of that caramel sweetness, and this brought me back a little bit.
I would agree.
So while this was good, this to me is better.
I would agree.
Now, OESO, is that better still? Let's rye heavy on the nose.
This is fruity.
This
is
is
a fruit snack. This is your Fruity Pebbles.
Oh yeah, see, this is, again, the roller coaster. I like, right up front, I got a little bit of that rye heavy, and then it settles into some of the fruit, and and the finish. It's really got a long finish. Really, both of these store picks, the private selections, are, I hate to say it, but like, really a step above the average store selection. So maybe that's, of all that, this is turning into like a 45-minute Bourbon Doctors episode, but if you're gonna take away some things, I think this is one of them, is that like, boy, if you can get a private select from Four Roses, snatch it up, man, because this is delicious.
And I would say, maybe 20 to 25 of these come into the state a year, and I don't know, we found one at a liquor store that we occasionally frequent. There's one that's from a reputable grocery store in the cities.
Yep.
And I actually see these, the majority of these coming through in your grocery store, liquor store. So they are available, we see them, but highly sought after.
But they're, again, if you can get them, get them. They're just, I thought I had the Four Roses for me, but now I'm finding that there's more Four Roses for me.
Yeah.
We've got one bottle left.
It's gonna be a doozy.
All right, and last, and in no ways least, so we've mentioned to our viewers that this is about $40, the straight up single barrel available everywhere.
Yep.
This is about 50, 55, whatever, small batch select. The private selects 70 to 80?
They have gone up. So I would say that 80 was probably right around where they were before, but I think they're coming in a little bit higher nowadays. We've talked about the inflation.
Bourbon inflation.
Bourbon inflation. So these are getting closer to $90 to $100.
But I mean, let's be real. There are 1 million bottles coming out at $100 right now.
Yes.
And many of them not worth. These are great bottles. These are bottles that you savor, you hold on to. Like, I still have my bottle of OESO. It's probably here, not here, because I'm like, I don't know when I'm gonna get another one. All right, our last Four Roses product. This is
And it is a doozy.
special, what is it? A special small batch? A special
Small batch, limited
Limited edition.
barrel strength.
from 2022. So,
We have we are looking at the back of it, and it says that there was 15,600 bottles of this that were produced.
it's not a small number, but it's, I mean, from a countrywide standpoint, not a huge
Yeah,
number.
not a
or
huge number.
worldwide, you know. What's the price point on this?
It's about $200.
$200.
So spend it.
Spend it. As the Minnesotans say, spendy.
It's a little spendy.
It's a little spendy. Oh God, it smells delicious.
Yeah. So 14 to 20 year whiskey blended,
Wow.
4 recipes. So we had talked about the small batch select. That was 6 recipes. This is 4, 1, 6, 7, and 10.
See,
And again,
look at that transparency. 1, 6, 7, and 10. We know all the recipes that went into this bottle. We know all the age statements that went into this bottle.
and I think that's amazing.
I do too. There's
Now-
so many products that you buy that you're like, I don't know how old this is. I don't know what they did with it.
Nope. This is a little bit older than the previous years too. So previous iterations of this would come in with the lowest age statement being somewhere between 11 and 12 years, 14 being
12 years is a good ass whiskey.
It still is. So, I'm excited to try this.
It's garbage. just kidding. It's not. It's good.
Yeah. No.
It's good. I mean, for $200, you're getting your money's worth.
So I would say predominantly oak on the nose.
It's not as rye heavy as the other two.
Not at all.
It's more traditional bourbon smelling.
For sure.
Less of that floral
Mm-hmm.
baking spice, whatever you want to call, whatever you smell when you smell heavy rye. There's a hint of it though. There's
Definitely.
a hint of it.
Vanilla, I would say baking spice is a great way to describe it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go black pepper, and I definitely wouldn't go minty. Some of these
No,
roses,
it's definitely not minty.
Yeah, minty.
One of the barrels, or one of the samples that we had was very minty. But the thing about it on the palate is I would say that it's very balanced.
Nope.
Right? Not too heavy in the rye spice, not too heavy in the vanilla caramel realm, not too candy sweet. It is very balanced.
I get this almost like, this is kind of a weird term, but it's like bready.
Which is typically what I associate with a wheated, but I see where you're going with that.
And I would say I'm still tasting the sip from 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, it does have a long finish.
It's sticking around forever. And I mean, this would be something that you could sip over a couple hours. This is something you have one night.
This is very easy sipping. I forget what our proof point is on this.
109.
So it's wheelhouse for sure. So here's where I'm gonna poke you a little bit and
Okay.
go 80, 90, 200.
No.
Is it twice as good?
I don't think so. I don't think it's twice as good.
I'm going to agree with you there. I think this is an excellent bourbon at half the price. If I could get a private select, I think I would rather have a private select. And this is by no means am I poo-pooing this $200 bottle. It's good. It's really good whiskey. But at some point
There's diminishing returns for sure.
yeah, diminishing returns is a great way to put it.
So, if you could tell me any day of the week I could walk into a store and I could have an OESO, and at this proof point, so
Yeah,
I could get a 110 to 120 OESO.
the baking spices at that.
I think that's what we call heaven.
Yeah.
Right, but this isn't readily available. Neither are these two.
This is not really readily available either.
No. So, is it incrementally better? Slightly.
Yeah.
So from a cost standpoint, I would agree with you. I think these single barrels, especially if you find the recipe that you like, those would be any day of the week
Yeah.
the best thing that you could drink.
Yep.
But these are just as rare as these are. These are, again, dependent on your location. They're dependent on when they get them in. And these don't last on the shelves. It's not like it's sitting around where people are coming in for weeks and months and these are just sitting there.
Yeah.
These are just as rare and allocated as this would be.
And I think there's where you hit the key point, right? It's the allocation, it's whether it's this bottle of limited edition Four Roses or a store pick of Four Roses or a bottle of Old Fitz or George G. Stagg, right? Your opportunities are so limited to buy these bottles that whether it's $80 or $200 or whatever, if you stumble across it, just get it.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to be disappointed.
You're not going to be disappointed.
But I would say that this product is excellent.
Yep.
I would say that if you can, again, maybe the single barrel wasn't our favorite.
Nope.
But let's say you couldn't get any of these other
And
things
for $40.
for $40, I think that single barrel is a very nice
product.
product.
It's a really good purchase. The other is this private selects and these limited editions. I think it's one of those, if you come across it, if you get the opportunity, buy it, you won't be disappointed. Now when we go to hey, there's a Four Roses for you, or you, this may not be the Four Roses for you. This may be, or not be. I will say, the Four Roses for me, single barrel, private select. If I can find one, that's the Four Roses for me. Your mileage may vary.
Yep, agreed. I don't think there's a bad product out here that we've tasted today.
No.
I don't think we can point to any of these and say this is something that we wouldn't drink, because I think we would drink every single one of these bottles. I think when it comes down to it, you're going to find your recipe, you're going to find your blend.
I think that's the key point, really, is that every bottle we've tasted today has been, from both a nose and a palate, markedly different.
Yep.
And while all good, you can tailor and pick and choose, right?
Definitely.
If I find an OESO, buying that, because that's in my wheelhouse. And today I've learned the OBSF, also in my wheelhouse. So yeah, I'll pick one of those up for sure too. But Four Roses is an interesting distillery that gives you this information that no other distillery does. Take it, use it, cater to what your tastes are.
Agreed.
That's what I take away.
Yeah, I'm glad to have shared this with you. This is very good, but I think that we have amazing products.
You have an amazing selection, and I thank you for sharing, especially the limited edition. We're the Bourbon Doctors. This is Derek. I'm Albert. Like, comment, subscribe. Go to our website, purchase our merch, do whatever you do. But remember, bourbon is for drinking.
Exactly. Cheers.